coming and listening today to our Meet the Educator series. We are so glad to have Richard Proffer with us today. So he has been with the University of Illinois Extension in our unit since July. I asked you that even and I forgot. Okay. So we are glad to have him. If you remember Kathy Brown, she had this position for a long time and retired just after COVID. And so we're really delighted that he's here, and he is in our Mason County office in Havana. And so if you want to get a hold of him, that's where you'll find him. But he's going to tell us about all the things that he is working on and planning for in his area of community and economic development. So thank you, Richard, for coming on today, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Well, thank you, Nicole. I just want to say hello out there to all of you all who are watching today. I appreciate that, and thank you for joining this presentation on community and economic development. And you'll get to learn a little bit about me. I'm, as Nicole said, Richard Proffer, and I'm your community and economic development educator here for our unit. I want to do a shout out to Nicole and her team for creating these series, because it's giving us a chance as educators, and I talk with my hands, a chance of our educators to get to talk to you and let you know what we're doing. And I do really believe by doing this, the chances of you becoming even more involved, because I realize most of you are probably master gardeners, master naturalists, horticulturists, and so forth, that you might want to become involved in some of our other projects that we have going on, as some of the other educators will talk about. Plus, ask questions. I'm a pretty easygoing person. Ask questions as we go along. Unmute, ask. Or if you might be a little uncomfortable with that, put it in the chat, and Nicole's going to let me know what we've got going on there, so we can get all of those addressed. Okay? With that said, let's get started. This is what we're going to talk about today. Whenever I do any kind of a community discussion, I always like to let my people know in the audience what we're going to cover. And those are the topics that we're going to cover today. I sometimes call it a roadmap, because if you're like me, if I don't have a roadmap, I get lost pretty easy, especially in new territories. But and I have some stories on that already as I travel around. But you can kind of see what we're going to talk about. So I'll just move right on there. Who am I? Well, as I said, I'm Richard Proffer, and I divide my career into two parts: the private sector and the public sector. In the private sector, I worked in the media industry for advertising companies, and companies you probably recognize because they all have a footprint here in the Imperial Valley, Peoria area. I worked for AT&T. Excuse me there. I worked for AT&T, which they have a big building in Peoria. Gannett Newspaper, which owns Peoria Journal-Star and the Pekin Daily. And then Comcast, which is a cable provider here. Actually, this is my second time in Peoria. I worked for a cable company called TCI back in the 90s here in Peoria on Drees Lane, where Comcast is now. And I helped our advertising people do advertising sales by putting together promotions, doing marketing research, putting together presentations. And then as I moved up the ladder, so to speak, I did regional marketing activities. At one point, I had the territory for AT&T east of the Mississippi River, north of the Mason-Dixon line was all of my territory that people would call me on. And then I moved to Springfield, Missouri with Gannett Newspapers and was the assistant marketing director there. And then around 2005, my parents made a request. If I could help them out, because they'd reached the point in life where they needed some extra help. And so that's where my career focus changed from the private sector to the public sector. I took a job with Missouri Extension in Cape Girardeau County, which is right on the Mississippi River, right across from Anna, Illinois, if you're familiar with that, or hour and a half south of St. Louis. And there I started out as a small business development specialist. So I help people start businesses, help them stay in business, And when the time came, I helped them either close, sell, or put the succession plan into effect so that the business stayed in business after they wanted to retire out of it. Did that for quite a long time, and then Missouri Extension changed, and I became a community economic development specialist. In Missouri, they're called specialists. In Illinois, they're called educators. I had an 18 county region that I worked in, and during that time, I worked with our communities to help them grow and improve, but I also worked with a team of other specialists to develop a community strategic planning curriculum to work with communities to help them plan for their economic future. We implemented this curriculum in 7 different communities across the state because this was a statewide effort. So I think it's important to point out that I've done work in rural Missouri and I've done work in urban Missouri. So I can say I've worked in Risco, Missouri, population of about 300, to the city of St. Louis, which their population number actually escapes me, but much larger than Risco. I think we all can agree on that. Then, as Nicole said, July of 2022, I came here, and my main effort is getting to know the people, the communities, the government, nonprofits, organizations, to see what's going on. I'm actually, and I'll be talking about this a little bit later, but I'm on a meet and greet campaign, and I'm wanting to learn the successes, the needs, and the opportunities that exist out there in our 4 counties so that I can help bring, and this is one of my goals, I want to be able to bring the capability and the capacity of the University of Illinois system to our 4 counties in a way that improves the quality of life through placemaking activities. And by placemaking, meaning we're doing things to make our communities more livable so that they can attract more residents. So that's probably my big project that I like to, overall goal that I'm working under. So kind of, since we know that most of you might be involved in master gardeners, master horticulturists, or naturalists, you may not be familiar with what community and economic development means. So I'm just going to give you a very brief background. Ever since people could communicate either by pointing, pounding stones, talking, we've had community economic development because it's that coming together and talking and planning that makes things happen. But after World War II, it really became its own discipline. And that's when we realized that, and it happened here in the United States, we created this particular discipline. We realized we need to come up with a way to help bring the countries that have been so damaged in World War II back. And so this discipline started coming up during that time. As a CED educator, I work in a philosophy from capacity to collaboration building. So we work from the positive side of the community. We don't say, oh, this is a bad place. We work from the positive side of, we've got 14 gardens, 14 parks. We've got, we have a riverfront we can work with. So we work on the positive sides while addressing the negative sides. I define community, and all of our people define community very broadly. So most people say, oh, community, that could be North Pekin. Well, for me, a community could be a neighborhood, such as Moss Avenue in Peoria, a town, village, or city like Bath, Illinois, a county like Fulton County, or it could be a region. We live in the Imperial Valley. It could be the whole region of the Imperial Valley that makes up a community for us. And so that term is very broadly used to define how we work. We talk about economic development in our name, but we do not do traditional economic development. Traditional is attracting businesses to the area. the next big factory, the next big production plant, that type of thing. I leave that to the paid professionals. I don't want to get into that because that's not my area. But what I do work on in economic development and community economic development are, like right now I'm working with the city of Bath to improve and add another playground, helping them find funding for that. Working with downtown Pekin Main Street on addressing some issues that they have and how can we work through those to bring the power of that particular downtown community together to help address the concerns that they have. Working with NAACP on South Peoria, we've have met with them and are working to address some concerns that they have by bringing in University of Illinois people, and working with the city of Elmwood to help find funding for their new YMCA health center that is coming up there. So also, I think it's important for you to see where we are in the state of Illinois. Excuse me, my nose itches there. The map you see in front of you, and I hope that you can see it pretty clearly. We have 8 educators in the state. And so if you can see the light blue, we're number 11. We have 8 educators, of which I'm one. We have 7 state specialists, which are on campus in Champaign-Urbana. And we have 1 coordinator who's on the far western side of the state. Bringing it down even more narrow, with me, I work in the 4 counties, a big difference for me than the 18 counties that I had in Missouri. Fulton, Mason, Peoria, Tazewell. Those are my areas that I spend the most of my time. But I do have some statewide responsibilities. I work on the broadband team with the campus and the state office of broadband. And I'm working with campus on entrepreneurism. As Earl likes to remind me, and I appreciate this, I'm a 70-30 split. 70 within the unit are those 4 counties are there to serve you. 30% on statewide activities. So how does CED get involved in a community? That's another important thing to understand, how we operate. Our strategy is similar: needs assessment, program response, evaluation. And what that really means is, I'm sorry, my nose for some reason is starting to itch, is we're invited into a community. The community, and again, that's a broad definition. The community says we want some help in planning for our future by addressing these concerns. So we get invited in, and we determine how ready is that community to work together. One of the things I really learned in Missouri when we were rolling out that program in the 7 cities, we rolled it out in a lot of others, but they weren't ready to work together. And so we didn't move forward. So when they're ready to work together, we help them see the need for the strategic planning that we're going to be bringing to the table. And the community must be willing to commit to the process. So that needs assessment, program response, evaluation mechanism that you see there, it's very flexible. We never really are rigid in how we approach a community, because each community is different, each community is unique, but we use that kind of as a guideline. So I tell you that so in case you're ever involved in one of our things, you're going to understand. You may not hear me say needs assessment, but you may hear me talk about what's going on. What do you see happening? We may move into program and say, here's some programming that we can do to help, and move that way. And since we work for a university, we always have to collect impact. And I'm sure you've heard Nicole ask you about some questions on impact collection and things like that. Well, let's now get to what I'm doing in our unit. That's probably, we've done the state level stuff. So let's get right down into what's going on in our unit here that I'm working on. Um, and these are just a few of the projects that I'm working on. Not everything that I didn't put everything up there because I could be here all day talking about those. But we are about ready to kick off in Mason County a broadband, our high-speed internet effort to help bring high-speed internet to every home and business in Mason County. It's part of the National Digital Extension Educators training program that we're a part of, and we'll be rolling out their curriculum, and it's designed to educate people about what is high-speed internet, what works best in different communities, and how do we get the internet service providers and the government and the communities all involved to help make it happen. So it's a 3-month comprehensive project, which prepares them then for the Illinois Accelerate program. And that is the official state broadband program. And that's where the money is. So when Mason County is through with ours, they will be ready to run into and go forward into the Accelerate program because they have a plan written on how they want to move forward. So that's a good thing. I'm doing my meet and greet, which I kind of talked about earlier. I'm doing the academic term is key informant interviews. I like to say meet and greet. It's more fun that way. But I'm meeting with all incorporated areas in the 4 counties, talking about what's going on, what's happening, what are some opportunities, what are some needs, and how can the University of Illinois and the University of Illinois Extension be of service to help them. That has been very eye-opening to me because of some of the concerns that are coming up. We have a huge need on housing. We have a huge need on infrastructure, broadband, high-speed internet, workforce, obviously. So we have some common threads across the region or the unit, but we also have some unique other things. Populations for towns that want to attract new people. They're willing to make some efforts to do that. Other unique things range from, we need a restaurant, or we're a food desert. You know, our population is 65% plus 60 years, and they have to drive 20 to 30 miles to get to a grocery store. You know, so those types of issues we're coming up with. I offer a service to nonprofits and extension personnel and other organizations for grant search. We sit down and talk, and then I pull up a grant search and go back to you and give you a list of opportunities that you can then proceed to go after. I do not write the grants for you, but I offer the ability to help proof, read, provide research for you to help prove the cause or the need for the grant. I'm going to come back to that one. I'm working with Downtown Pekin already. We're meeting with the city of Pekin with the Downtown Pekin Main Street project on the homelessness issue in Pekin. We're going to be meeting with some other things that Pekin wants to do to downtown Pekin, I need to clarify, wants to do to help draw more business and attention to downtown. The Peoria Arts Collaboration Project is a campus project. So we've already brought in some campus people, and it's with the Peoria Arts group and our art instructors, public art instructors on campus. It's a collaboration where we're helping Peoria plan out their public art. I work with them on that. And then the tourism collaboration project, of which Havana, Illinois is one of those. Actually in March, tomorrow, but it's later on in March, the campus faculty are coming to Havana to the third Tuesday coffee at 8 o'clock. And they're going to talk about the study that they have done and the results they've tabulated and how Havana can take advantage of their findings. And so it's really neat with that and to learn, because I've been able to be very involved in that particular project. Coal communities. This is a federal project and one you've heard a lot all about, the different coal plants being shut down and what's going on. So I'm working with several different federal agencies to get the word out about opportunities for our communities to go after and apply for. I was at a meeting in December where the USDA rural development person said, our communities are not applying for this money. They're not going after this money that the federal government is putting out there for them. And the question was asked, why? And they came back with, they don't know how to prove the need. So I talked to this person after the meeting and said, what if the University of Illinois Extension were to provide a package of research on every single county and city that's a part of the Coal Communities Initiative that clearly can help them find the need, show the need, and illustrate it? And she thought that was a great idea. That's already been done. And it's now in the hands of the USDA rural development people to get to those communities. So that's a very big example of where Extension stepped up to the plate, delivered, and are even working on with the federal project people even closer now because of that type of stuff. I helped create some nonprofit organizations, what we call NPOs. There's a group of people in Havana who are wanting to start a foundation for music festivals. I've got a group of people wanting to create a museum. I have a community theater group and another community art group who are all wanting to create nonprofits and then help make these things happen. A lot of people think that a nonprofit can just be started in a heartbeat, and that's not the case. You've got to go through a series of steps. You've got to have your bylaws, and then you've got to also get your numbers, so to speak, to get your registration numbers. And so I'm helping guide them through that process. The Asian Kopi, or used to be called Asian Carp, we have some potential campus interest in working with the Fishermen's Co-op up by Peoria on how to expand the distribution of that food opportunity. So that's a big step for us. Campus is potentially going to get involved with that. Then you may or may not even know that we have an Illinois River silt problem, both in Peoria and in Havana. We have major silt issues, and we have a company in Peoria that takes that silt and right now is using it to enrich potting soil. And I don't understand this, and I will never understand because I'm not an engineer, but somehow, some way, some shape, somehow, river silt strengthens concrete when it's used in construction. Or it strengthens the road tarring that goes down and makes it last longer, or in the chip and seal. So we are finding a lot of construction uses for river silt. And I've got one campus professor committed to the fall to have his students address this issue on how to get more river silt into construction services. And they're going to do a laboratory experiment with it. And then when those sophomore students become seniors, they're going to come over here and they're actually going to do an engineering project on how to make that all work out. We have that commitment. I'm talking to another professor about the construction equipment, and I'm talking to another professor about in the School of Business about market distribution and distribution strategies on how they can help make that happen. So we're working on getting more campus representation in our 4 counties. Working with our Bradley Small Business Development Center on an agricultural business, a microbrewery, helping them find ways to get it started and to achieve funding. And then the Mason County Pollinator Garden, helping them find some funding, and some other projects came out of that conversation for the Mason County Fair over there, but helping find funding for those things. So this was what I'm doing locally in our backyard, and that's where I really prefer to work because I like helping the people I get to know. But as I said, I'm 30% state. So on the state, when I came to Illinois, I discovered that the Illinois Extension did not have a relationship with Illinois Main Street. And in Missouri, I worked very closely with Missouri Main Street. So I'm helping to bring those two organizations together where Illinois Extension will be able to support the communities that are in the Main Street program so that they can achieve the four goals that every Main Street community is supposed to be working towards. We will be able to provide curriculum, our guidance to help them achieve that. And Illinois Main Street is very excited about that opportunity. Putting together a small business financial webinar with Bradley SBDC. Bradley is the largest SBDC in our 4-county area. The only other one is Western Illinois SBDC, and they're up in the Quad Cities. And they work the Fulton and Fulton and Havana area of Mason County. So Bradley is by far the largest for us. And the director there and I are old friends from when I first lived here in Peoria. So it was a kind of natural fit for us to work together. So we're working on a financial webinar series that we're going to do 2 this year, 1 in July and 1 in November. And if people attend, and we have a good turnout, we're going to go to a monthly. And then the state broadband team with the National Digital Extension Educators team with both Extension and the state. And Nicole, I see we've got a chat question or comment.
It's not a question, Richard. It's just a comment from May that said, that's a long list of wonderful projects. Thank you for all of your involvement and guidance to so many others. So here you go.
Thank you, May. It just popped up all of a sudden, so I didn't know what it was, but I'm going to be a very active person. I got my orientation done in November, which I joke, Illinois has a much longer orientation than Missouri does. But so I'm actively getting involved and working, and I will be popping up a lot of different places to help make things happen. So I kind of shared with you what I'm doing in our 4 counties, but I thought I would let you know what can the Community Economic Development Department of Extension, what are some of the big topics that we can bring and that we work to address? Community planning, everything from having discussions on roads, housing, food, hunger. We can help a community plan how to address those issues through our community planning process. That was the needs assessment, program response, and evaluation that I mentioned earlier, and the strategic planning technique that we talked about. We also have programming for food deserts and community gardens. And this is an area where Nicole and her group and I have already talked about some possible collaborations in different areas around our county. But I've already identified 2 food deserts in our region, our unit, and we'll be addressing those as I go through my plan of work on that. Economic development, again, I talked about not the traditional, where I'm bringing in a big factory, but more of the smaller that improve the quality of life and placemaking activities in our communities to improve the quality of life, which would result in attracting new residents. Environmental. Now, this is a new one for me, I'll admit. In Missouri, community economic development didn't really get involved in the environment, but we are here. And Lisa Merrifield, which is one of our state specialists, her and I are working with the National Wildlife Federation on a water project because they want to, through an academic process, which makes sense to me, they want to find out how many birds are migrating through the area, what kind, and then what needs to be done to attract more. That way it improves the bird rotation, bird life, and gives us as residents a chance to see more of that. A little quick story that came out of that. Oh, someone who had a comment? Nope. Okay. A quick story that came out of the environmental side was there was a gentleman who was on the call with us, and he said, when I started working down at, and I'm going to butcher the name. I'm still learning names, so please forgive me. Imadon, that the big water
Emma
reserve.
Kwan. Emma Kwan.
Imaquan. Thank you,
Yeah.
Nicole. He said, when I first started here, he said, if I saw 100 birds, I was happy. But he said, I knew we had achieved, well, are well on our way to achieving our goal. Thank you. I knew, he said, I knew were on our way to achieving our goal when a flock of birds took off and I could not see the sun. There were so many. He said, that was a very good day for me. We do work with local food systems, the farmers' gardens, things like that. And Nicole's program has a very good program that is a part of this also. So another opportunity for collaboration. And then local government education. And we do that in a variety of ways. We have monthly webinars on government education that come onto a variety of topics. And that actually is a pretty interesting webinar, believe it or not, because it's not just about Robert's Rules of Orders, are when can you make a point, when can you not make a point. It's about some really local issues that are affecting our local governments and how they can address them on their local level. That's a monthly webinar, and if you're interested, just let me know, and we will get you the enrollment links to that and get you on the email list. So that's what the state level is available to us. Something else that we also do, which is part of a community planning and something that I'm going to be taking training for, is the poverty simulation. Since I've been here since July, I've already worked on 2, and it's a very eye-opening experience because people take on the roles of impoverished, low income, middle income, high income in a community. They have these cards and sheets that role play them out, and then they have to go to different institutions which are in the room: banks, supermarkets, utility companies, grocery stores, so forth, that it's the day in the life of. And then at the end, we talk about our frustrations. The community does, well, so I learned this, I learned that. I had no idea that people who were below the poverty level had to deal with these types of things. So I will be taking some training on that. Barbara, a question or?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm in Arizona and I'm checked in late. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Glad you're here. So with that said, okay, Kathy, so you're working with the Dream Center on a poverty simulation. Good. So
I
you're
did.
some good
I
experience.
was social services.
Okay. And what did you come out with that?
I volunteer at a soup kitchen, and some of my friends are involved with an organization, and they were participants in a poverty simulation through the Dream Center. And then they were asked to help, and they recruited me, and it was very meaningful.
I agree. I am, even though it's ironic, it was written in Missouri, but written by Missouri Extension, we never did it. It was never part of our toolkit. The Missouri Community Action Agencies did it, but over here in Illinois, Extension does it a lot, and other action agencies will do it over here. And so the times that I've done it, the 2 times that I've been involved in it over here, have certainly been interesting, so, well, we only got 2 slides left. And so I'm going to just really quick fix this so that I don't know why it's doing this. Probably because I'm in Okay. And then from current. Okay. So any questions on anything we've talked about today, or anything that we've covered, or anything that you would like to see? Richard, could you possibly look into this? Okay. Was there any particular programs that caught your eye? Are any thing on the local level you'd like to learn more about, or on the state level? Or
Richard, I just wanted to chime in here. So I actually live in north of Manitou in the Spring Lake Bottoms, but I'm the media relations manager for the Illinois Soybean Association, and I'm also on the market development committee. And one of the things that I'm involved in leading is Project Broadband Breakthrough. And I'm working with Nancy also from Extension. And some of the things you were talking about with broadband, we need to get together, and we should also chat with Nancy, because we could fast track some of the things you're working with when it comes to broadband. We're putting checkoff dollars towards this initiative. And with Broadband Breakthrough right now, we're actually working with 5 different counties across the state through a program. And so by the end of May, they will have their proposals or their plans ready to submit to the state. And once our pilot project is over, then we are actually opening it up to the entire state of Illinois. And I'm working with Nancy. We're actually getting ready in April to distribute a statewide survey to our 43,000 farmers. And then I think we have 51,000 ag influencers across the state to take the internet usage survey and then do the speed test, so we can kind of help these counties along in this process to get some of those federal dollars. And so anyway, I just wanted to let you know that we should connect on that. And then also, Nicole and I both taught at Midwest Central. So I was the ag teacher and FFA advisor there, and she was the science teacher, and we collaborated quite a bit. And so a lot of the projects that you're working on, we kind of have some resources and can connect you with some of the appropriate people there as well. So just let us know how we can help you, especially because you're new to the area. Before I was teaching at Midwest Central, I was the farm broadcaster for WMBD and WIRL in Peoria. So whatever we can do to help you, just please let us know.
Will do. I'll ask Nancy, because Nancy and I are doing the same thing in Mason County, obviously. Well, not the same thing, but her and I are working on Mason, and I'll have to ask her, okay, here's Deanna right up in Manitou, just up the road from me. You know, maybe
Richard, Manitou is in Mason County.
Yeah.
Well, true, but I mean,
Deanna's in Mason County.
Yeah.
She's actually on my list to contact, because being in the Farm Bureau building there in Havana, I get the magazine, and your name and picture was in it the other day, and it said a Manitou resident.
Yeah.
And she's on the Soybean Council, and she's doing this and this and this. So you're on my list, girl.
Okay. I'm not on the Soybean Council. I work for the association. So I'm on staff.
Association. Okay.
But my husband farms full time. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. But the broadband efforts here at ISA is a project that I'm heading up. So yeah, we just need to chat with Nancy and see how we can kind of help you fast track it. Do you have a team, Richard? Do you have a team in the county that you're working with for broadband?
We go on March, I think it's 14th, before the county district board to get their official approval of the project and getting their support, and also suggestions on who they want on this team that we're going to have, because we need a representative from every willing incorporated entity to be on this group to serve as the local leadership team. And then we'll have a community-wide meeting, which will then help shape the work and the planning process and the actual plan development. Because our plan that we have, I don't know what yours is like, and I'm anxious to see what it is. The plan that we will be proposing is one that works well to develop a 3P partnership, the public-private partnership.
Right.
So, and if you're working with Nancy, she might be bringing the same thing. I'll have to ask her about that because she hasn't said anything about that.
Yeah, so Broadband Breakthrough is kind of our pilot project, but it segues into Accelerate Illinois. So we're working with Adrienne Furness from Benton. We're working with the Broadband Lab. We have mapping capabilities. So we're basically just helping counties fast track it. My recommendation to you is before you go to the county board, I would go chat with the Farm Bureau manager and see if you can get a team of 5 farmers or 5 Farm Bureau members that can head up the leadership committee, because what it comes down to is when you go to map out Mason County, you're going to look for your county anchors. So most of those are going to be rooted in agriculture in Mason County. So your grain elevators, a farmer that has, you know, a grain lake system, maybe it's an equipment dealership, different things like that. And then, you know, if you can get the Farm Bureau on board from the beginning, then when you go to start talking about easements and right-of-ways and different things like that, it's a little bit easier. So that would be my recommendation to you. You don't want too many people making up that initial leadership team. You want the decision makers that have the influence and the way to make that happen across the county. So I would recommend visiting with to see like if there's people on the Young Leader Farm Bureau Committee or even the leadership board that would want to work with that.
Okay. Well, I see we certainly need to have an opportunity to talk together more frequently and longer offline.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I just wanted to share that with you because I'm knee deep in that right now.
Thank you, Deanna.
Yes. Other questions or comments?
I think May must have had a question because you asked, do you have a question, May?
I live outside of a small community just west of Peoria. And I wondered if I could turn your name over to our community board, or if you are reaching out to all these communities yourself. It's Hannah City. And so is it okay that I tell them that I met, you know, we met online, the work that you're doing, which may I say, sir, since you just started in November, you have taken on quite an agenda.
He started in July, May.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, he was talking about his
I finished my orientation.
He
Yeah.
finished his orientation. We just get started with before orientation.
We were doing work before.
He was knee deep by the time orientation happened. It sounds.
Well, it helped that I did not come into this completely green, having spent over 16 years in Missouri. So
it's interesting to hear the differences between our neighboring state too. That's very interesting. I'm glad you put some of those out there for us to hear.
It was very interesting for me too, because I kind of thought, well, you know, we don't do that here.
That's a learning curve, right?
Yes.
But so are you contacting these smaller communities in our 4 counties, or would it be okay for me to then recommend that the board reach out to you and provide your email? Is that okay?
If they reach out to me, and that's the next slide. If they reach out to me, I'll get to them faster.
Okay, great.
Because I'm almost done with Mason and I'm starting in Fulton. And then I've done some work already up in Peoria County with Elmwood and such, but and actually Farmington, because Hannah City came up in the Farmington discussions. And so
what does that mean?
Apparently there was some time ago, there was an idea of a 3-city park. In Farmington, Hannah City, and I forget the third city.
Trivola's in the middle.
Okay.
Between the two. So probably Trivola.
Could be. And if I write it down, I'm like, oh, I've got it written down. I don't have to remember it anymore. So, but that came up in that discussion about the idea of maybe reviving that. And that's an opportunity where I'm working with our Parks and Recreation Department over on Champaign about the possibility of getting involved in that. Because Farmington doesn't necessarily have enough money to do a big park that they want to do, but Hannah City was doing some kind of a trail project at that point in time, which was bringing in funding for the park. And then I guess Tivoli was the third city. So
Yeah.
that's where Hannah City came involved. It came up in that conversation. But this is my phone number. That's the office number. That's my email. So feel free to give my name out. And I encourage each of you on the Zoom today, if you want to become involved in some of these projects that are either in your towns or close to your towns, or you want it brought to your town, let me know. Because I'm all about serving my people. And by my people, you are my people, because I live here, I work here, and I want to do what I said earlier in the beginning. I want to work on projects that improve the quality of life through placemaking activities that will result in attracting new residents. That's my goal and mission. Anything else? There are three of all those addressed, Nicole, up in chat.
I believe so.
Okay.
I hope you all caught that he has a grant database, and I thought you might be interested in that, because as you go chat with him, as he said, you find out and you can tease out some keywords, and he'll do some searching for you and provide you some support. I mean, he won't write grants for you, but he can get you going. And that is sometimes the biggest obstacle, right? And
Absolutely.
then we can all work together to get those going. So just to know that that's available, I hope you all will think about that as you're planning your
And it's
projects.
a free service.
Yes.
So now, Nicole made a very true statement. You do not want me on your grant. Don't put me on your grant, because the university will take 36%. Okay. I'll help you write it. I'll proof it. I even can provide you with research to help prove the need, but don't put me on the grant. I can't speak for Nicole and how her program works, but mine, it's 36% right out of the top. So that's why I tell my people, don't put me on the grant. So anything else? Okay. Well, I thank you all for your participation and listening today. Hopefully you are coming away with some ideas of what it is that CED does in our unit here in the 4 counties and what it can do. And that's probably the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway is, what can we do to help? So you've got my name and number there and my email. Feel free to use it, give it out, whatever. Thank you all for today.
Yes. Thank you, Richard, for doing this. We're so glad that we get a chance to meet you and find out what you're doing. And for next week, everyone, Kevin Brooks is going to be on with us. He is our new ag business and management educator. And so he just started, when did he start, Richard?
15th.
December 15th. So he has not been here long, but he worked with Extension prior to the reorganization. And so we're glad to have him back. And hopefully you can learn all about what he's doing and where we can kind of plug in with him too. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you for coming today. And thank you to Richard.